Alright, how's it going, guys? Welcome to another collection video. So as promised, I'm going to do something different in this video and show some more of my existing vinyl. So with regard to this chapter, I decided I'm going to do heavy metal and hard rock, that as a general category. So as you've seen with my death metal vinyl video, I'm going to show 5 records at a time and just discuss those. Also, just to start with, what's playing in the background? This is Autograph with their debut album, Sign In Please. And there's a special reason I chose this one, actually. First of all, it fits in with this general category of hard rock and heavy metal. But secondly, this is from my existing CD collection. And as you would have gathered if you saw my previous video, this didn't really fit in with the other albums, like a whole load of black metal and melodic death metal. And it certainly won't fit in with the next lot of CDs either. So I thought, what I'm going to do, this is sort of standing alone as a style, and I thought, oh, it fits in quite nicely with hard rock, heavy metal, so here we are. So for those who don't know, Autograph is an American sort of glam metal hard rock band, and as you can probably tell from their name, they were inspired by Def Leppard. I think they formed around the time when, you know, the whole world was going crazy for that album, Pyromania, and especially in America, they were looking for the next Def Leppard. And so a lot of bands sort of replicated that style or were inspired by it. So that's including this band. There was also quite a few others, like the American band Black and Blue. They have sort of a Def Leppard-esque sound, and especially on their poppy album, Without Love. And by the way, Black and Blue, very criminally underrated band in my opinion. And Autograph, they're definitely inspired by Def Leppard, if you can hear this now, but also a little bit by Van Halen, so they have a sort of American sound as well. But anyway, I discovered this band about, how long ago? 10, 15 years ago, something like that. I introduced my friend to Black and Blue, Nick, and he said to me, oh, if you like them, you should check out Autograph. So I said, okay, and then I bought this album and really enjoyed it. So just show you the cover here. Inlay. Disc is in there, and the booklet is the same as the back cover. So from what I understand, this is something of a supergroup, like it featured members of several other bands, not hugely famous, but quite well known. But anyway, the way I would describe their music, it's sort of the epitome of the 80s. Like when I first heard this, it reminded me of Beverly Hills Cop 2 or Arthur 2 on the Rocks. Like there's that era of late 80s films, like it could be the soundtrack to that, or, you know, Walking Down the Sunset Strip, something like that. And that's kind of fun. Like if you saw my introductory video, you will have learned that the first heavy bands I ever heard were glam metal. So some of those bands included Motley Crue, Def Leppard and stuff. And then I was born in '79, so in the 80s, especially the late 80s, that was sort of the sound of bands at that time. So it's always been part of me. So when I finally got to discover this band, it was kind of nostalgic, and it's like, oh yeah, that's just that quintessential 80s sound. So I really like it. Yeah, inside the cover, they thank the mighty Van Halen. So there's no denying that they're inspired by them, and you can hear they use a lot of synthesizers. So it's sort of like, how would I describe it? Synth-driven pop rock glam metal, if that makes sense. But really fun, catchy album. It's a bit different, like it's not as hard as Motley Crue or something like that. It's very sort of synthy and poppy, but also rocky and catchy. Just a real melting pot of some of those big AOR hair metal bands, like, but just really good. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of insight about this album. So in general, overall, this album is great. I will say some songs seem a little bit generic, but that's okay. Like in the 80s, a lot of bands copied each other a little bit. The first song, opening track, actually, Send Her to Me, I used to think that was kind of a filler track, but it sort of grows on you because it's got that catchy sing-along chorus. And then there's also a couple of songs which, like, they're not brilliant songs, but they're just very catchy and easy to sing along to. And they are 19 and Non-Stop, and also My Girlfriend's Boyfriend Isn't Me. Sweet. This song playing now, this is Turn Up the Radio. This is my favorite song on the album, so I'm going to talk about it in a minute. Sorry, it's just grabbing me already. So anyway, the album does have a couple of songs that I don't like, interestingly, towards the end. So they're Friday and In the Night. Don't know why, I just don't like them. Like they're a bit, I don't know, like In the Night, it's a little bit of a depressing power ballad, so that kind of stuff doesn't grab me so much. But my favorite songs, got a whole load of those. So first of all, this song, Turn Up the Radio, infectious. You can't help but not sing along to that chorus, and it's fucking awesome. And I think this was actually voted in the top 100 rock songs of all time. So there you go, not a hugely famous band, but I can see why, because it's such a catchy song. Also, the song Cloud 10, that's got such a strutting, heavy riff in it, and really catchy chorus. And by the way, with the choruses, the backing vocals are very similar to Def Leppard. So you know what the backing vocals of Def Leppard sound like. If you like that kind of stuff, you will also love this band. So just very monumental, very anthemic, and it's great. And Cloud 10, the lyrics are so funny. Like the first line, he says, hanging out on the avenue, hold your head high while you're being cool. You can imagine like just being in the Sunset Strip in the 80s. Like, that's cheesy. And is cheesy a bad thing? Not at all. Like, to me, cheesy can be fun. So, great song, Cloud 10, and just that strutting riff, like you're bound to sing along. Also, Deep End, that's a great song. Like, really mean, heavy riff in that. Like, you think, oh, glam metal is all polished and poppy. Not necessarily. They do have some really sort of aggressive, ballsy riffs. So that's one song. So, Deep End is a really good song. Also, Thrill of Love is a great song. Just, it's really dreamy and dark, and it conjures a lot of emotion and atmosphere, especially with the use of the keyboards in the background. That's where you hear that Van Halen-esque influence really strongly. So that's just brilliant. Thrill of Love. And again, Def Leppard-esque backing vocals, sing-along chorus, so great. But as I said, absolute #1 track on this album for me is Turn Up the Radio. Like, it is the epitome of the 80s. This album, you just think, Sunset Strip, California, 1980s, glam metal, and is there anything wrong with that? Not to me, because that's what I grew up on. So, highly underrated album, I think, and I've got to discover more by these guys, because I think they're just fantastic. So that's Autograph with Sign In Please from 1984. Alright, so now getting into the vinyl. I'm going to talk about my first five hard rock heavy metal albums. So in that category, it could include glam metal, hard rock, heavy metal, speed metal, that kind of thing, as separate from death and black metal. So we'll just go ahead and get straight into it. So you can hear again, the synths are quite a prominent influence in Autograph, just to let you know. Oh, this song's catchy too. Maybe it was a bad choice of background CD because it's too distracting. It's catchy for me anyway. But anyway, we're going to go into the first record. This is, of course, Accept with Restless and Wild. So if you are subscribed to this channel and you've seen my previous videos, you'll see that I already talked about this album in my first retro reviews video, the CD version. So on that CD, that video, I spoke about this album extensively, so I can save you the time of rabbiting on about it again. But I'll just say, this is a brilliant album, like classic German, 80s German heavy metal, speed metal, raw, aggressive, fast, but also there's a mixture of tempos, and just a really eclectic mix of atmospheres and songs. Like, a lot of people think this kind of style it's limited, but Accept are really versatile, I find. So like literally every song, I could just read you every song, like as I mentioned on the CD. Some of my favorites, I would say Neon Nights, like that's a slow atmospheric song. Also Princess of the Dawn with that hypnotic riff in the outro. Flash, and then some of the faster songs like Fast as a Shark, Flash Rocking Man, Ahead of the Pack. The title track, Restless and Wild, Get Ready. And then also that sort of AC/DC-esque song, what's it called? Don't Go Stealing My Soul Away. So within that short description, I've just named every song on the album. I think that speaks volumes about its appeal. Just brilliant. So yeah, what I like about the vinyl is you see the picture really largely. That's just the band performing live. Awesome silhouetted image on the back there. I bought this secondhand in Thailand, so being a traditional sort of 80s vinyl release, there's nothing particularly special about the vinyl, just classic plain black, but suitably retro, really like it. Fantastic. And Portrait Records, that's the label there, so there you go. But I think this album stands apart from the other Accept albums in the sense that It's very fast and very raw. Like this is showing when the band were out for blood. And yeah, just created a brilliant album. So as I said, if you like speed metal, heavy metal, you can't go wrong with this album. An absolute classic. That's Accept with Restless and Wild. Alright, up next we have another Accept album, and I also talked about this one in my retro reviews video, so again I don't need to say too much now. This is Accept with Metal Heart. Now I love this artwork, you know, the mechanical robotic heart made of metal, and you can see all the detail there. It's just really cool. That's what I like about vinyl in general. You can just see the pictures in so much detail. On the back you've got the songs, and it's interesting that they list all the credits for each song, like who did and played what, who produced it, so it's like a real cast of thousands. But yeah, I like that. Just very retro layout there. And again, this one, also plain black vinyl, same label. I got this one secondhand in Thailand too, but you know, it was a great investment because I've listened to this so many times and I will continue to do so. As I mentioned in the retro reviews video, this is my favorite all-time Accept album. It's just got everything to me. I mentioned in that video, I've got a soft spot for it because it was the first one I heard, but I think really it's just brilliant. Like some of my favorite tracks on this with the strutting razor sharp riffs and sort of like that pummeling rhythm section, you know, with the bass, like Midnight Mover and Up to the Limit. They're just brilliant songs, like great. Wrong is Right, just so fast and aggressive, especially with Udo's raspy vocals. That's great. I mentioned Screaming for a Love Bite is one of my favorites just because the guitar solo in that is an absolute eargasm, blistering, you've got to hear it. And I mentioned also that song, it's got a kind of Van Halen influence in the sense that it's a bit more melodic, but honestly, that's unusual for Accept, but just wait till you hear the solo on that song. It's awesome. Too High to Get It Right, amazing, bellowing, loud backing vocals. I also mentioned in my previous video that Accept, they've got those sort of anthemic choral vocals, a bit like Def Leppard, but different style, more sort of heavy and darker, I suppose, but the backing vocals of this band are a major highlight. Living Tonight, absolutely one of my favorite tracks on this album. Just strutting, heavy, catchy, and as I said, it makes me want to go out and party. It's a song to put on before going out, just full of energy. But yeah, of course there's Metal Heart as well, which is that really epic song where they use all the organs. Literally, there's not a bad track on this. The ones I don't like as much as the others, I guess, are Teach Us to Survive and Dogs on Leads, although that's got a good chorus, and then Bound to Fail is the perfect closer on that. Just so heavy and choral and anthemic, so a brilliant way to round off an absolutely amazing album. So that's Accept with Metal Heart. Okay, up next, coming into my third vinyl in this video, this is an Accept album that I haven't talked about before. So, kind of fresh material, so to speak. This is Accept with Russian Roulette. So, Metal Heart came out in 1985, and this one came out in 86, I believe. I had never heard it before, but my brother, really cool guy, he bought this for my birthday a couple of years ago, and just second-hand in a market in Thailand. And it's quite funny, I don't know if you can see that, but what I love about these second-hand copies is you get these little idiosyncrasies, like someone here, next to the song titles, they've put ticks in red pen, so I'm assuming that the number of ticks denotes how good they thought the song was. You know, so like 2 ticks is okay, but 5 ticks, awesome song. It's quite funny, they put 3 to 5 ticks for most songs, but I think that's accurate actually, because this is a solid album, like all songs are good. It's got that classic Accept formula, you know, like driven by the rhythm section, heavy guitars, sounding a bit like AC/DC again, but like more of a metal version, Udo's trademark raspy vocals. What I really like about this album, I don't have it on CD, just vinyl, but you can hear the bass really prominently, so like just the heaviness is accentuated, and it's just like quality production, like absolutely perfect in my opinion. So, yep, we've just got the inner jacket. This has just got lyrics, and again, the person on the inside, they put ticks next to the songs and also wrote the track duration, so that's convenient for me. Thanks very much. Not that I really need that, but you know, it's interesting the things that collectors do. You know, people have their own little idiosyncrasies and habits, so that's part of the charm of picking up secondhand vinyl. So I'll just give you a look at that cover art. It's really captivating. So it's the band standing around playing a game of Russian roulette. You see, I think is it Udo who's holding the pistol, and that's Wolf like staring at him, and they're all wearing the Russian fur hats. And then on the back there's the empty table, the remnants, the pistols, the vodka and everything. Just really cool layout of tracks. Now again, like I said, this is classic accept, so you can't really go wrong with any of this album. No bad tracks. This is where I think they developed more of a even more German sound, I think, and nothing wrong with that because it's just got that special character which I like. But some of my favorite songs, like TV War is a great aggressive opener. Also Monster Man, catchy as fuck. A lot of people like Aiming High, like just the chorus is so catchy. Interestingly, a couple of my favorite tracks are the slower tracks. So the title track, Russian Roulette, just got such a catchy chorus, and that chorus is it must have been inspired by AC/DC's What Do You Do For Money, Honey? You know, like that song that goes, honey, what you do for money? Like, it's exactly like that. It's like, I think this band, they must have been influenced by AC/DC. Essentially, it's a heavier version, so really great song. A bit slower and a bit heavier, but really good. And another favorite song of mine is actually Heaven Is Hell, which is a very slow track, but just great drawn out riffs in that, and the bass, like, doo, 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 doo. It's just got this pulse to it, and somber, sort of peaceful parts. It's really good. Walking in the Shadows, Man Enough to Cry. Like, oh god, when I read the titles, I want to start singing the song. That's how catchy it is. And then the last track, Stand Tight. That's just a brilliant way to round off this album. It's like just an anthemic song, like We All Stand Together, sung by, you know, in chorus and everything. A bit like Judas Priest's United, like that kind of spirit, but I think this song is even better than that. All due respect to Judas Priest, but Stand Tight is just a great anthem to close a really epic, monumental, grandiose album. So if you haven't heard this one, definitely check it out. This is Accept with Russian Roulette. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but really you can't go wrong with Accept, whether it's old or new, especially old Accept. Like, they're just a fantastic heavy band. Again, in the vein of AC/DC, like AC/DC has a certain formula, and if you like one album, you're probably guaranteed to like most of them. So, interesting I mentioned them because that leads me into the next vinyl. And I just dropped something there. Okay, so the next vinyl in question is the band I just mentioned. A classic band which needs no introduction. This is AC/DC with High Voltage. So this was the debut album by AC/DC, released in 1976, I think. And it's, of course, features the first well-known under-recording vocalist, Bon Scott, who's revered as a legend, and rightly so. This is a re-release that I bought in Netherlands when I was in Amsterdam. Like, I just saw a couple of tracks. Like, I had this album in mind for vinyl for a while, and I saw it. It was only 20 euros. It was like, bang, done. So, as I said, it could be a reissue. It's just got some liner notes and history on the back there. Like, sample letters and photos from that era. Really cool. And then the inner jacket is just great. So it's got the old logo, liner notes and photographs. So it talks about the history of the album. There's Bon, legend, party shot of the band. Yeah, so let me see the liner notes. Yeah, they just talk about the early days of the band and the history of the album. And also letters of complaint from venues where they performed. So, you know, of course they were and are a wild band, especially back in those days. So, yeah, it's just interesting to see that history. But this album, classic plain black vinyl with the classic AC/DC logo, which I really like. Yep. Appropriately, just for a classic album like this, plain black vinyl. I don't need to talk about the music too much, I think, because most people are familiar with AC/DC, even outside the metal community, but if I just go in here, the only annoying thing about this version is they don't actually list the tracks on the cover, which kind of shits me a bit, but anyway, so I will read off the vinyl itself. So this album features some of the classic hits, so It's a Long Way to the Top if you want to rock and roll. Nothing left to say, brilliant song. Also TNT, you know, with that famous anthemic chorus, you know, oi, oi, you know, just revered as legendary. Also another famous track, The Jack. The Jack is the slow bluesy one. I have a confession to make. That song is okay, but I'm not a die-hard fan of that song. Like, to me it's just a little bit slow, a bit boring, but I understand it's bluesy. But having said that, whenever I see this band perform live or whenever I put the song on, I'm singing along, so that speaks volumes about its catchiness. But anyway, other favorite songs of mine, Rock and Roll Singer, just Bond's vocals in that, amazing. Great riffing, catchy as fuck. And also I like Can I Sit Next to You Girl? That's got some sort of like slower, more sort of chilled parts, but like again, the vocals are just infectious. She's Got Balls is very catchy. High Voltage, the title track, that's another great anthem, like great closer for the album. What is my favorite track on this album, you ask? Easy, Live Wire. And in fact, that's probably my favorite AC/DC album of all time. Just brilliant. I love how that song is driven by the rhythm section, you know, just like that sort of mellow start with just the bass and the guitars just slowly tuning in and everything. And then when it finally kicks in with the drums, it's just got that great rhythm and everything, just so good. And the vocals, the shouty backing vocals in the chorus, just everything about that song is fantastic. And like I said in my Retros review video, what I really like about Accept and AC/DC is how you hear how much the music is driven by the rhythm section. Like the drums and the bass play such an important role in the structure of the music. So that's why I love Live Wire, my favorite song on this album and my favorite AC/DC song of all time. Although there are so many others because they have so many great songs. But yeah, classic album, don't need to say too much about it. There's the iconic cover art with Angus in school uniform. Just old school, brilliant. So that's AC/DC with High Voltage. And fifthly, last album for today. This is another classic album by AC/DC, which I believe is criminally underrated. This is Fly on the Wall. So, really like that cover art. Sort of cartoonish, really cool. The first time I heard the song Fly on the Wall, at school we had this music day on Mondays when I was in primary school, like where we had a music class, and then kids were allowed to bring in tapes and play music. So the year was 1987. I was in grade 3, and the first sort of heavy music I heard in my life, this kid brought in a Poison tape, and I heard Nothing But a Good Time, and I was like, oh wow, I like this. And then another kid brought in a tape of this, and I heard the title track and thought, wow. So it like just opened up my mind to heavy music. So I'll just read, this one I got secondhand in Thailand at a market, but it's the AC/DC LP collection 180 gram vinyl reissue. So I'll just read the sticker. It says, stunningly remastered for vinyl from the original tapes, audiophile sonic quality, the way it was meant to sound, contains all original LP artwork, plus a newly designed sleeve featuring liner notes, photos, and more. The heaviest AC/DC albums ever. Right, so speaking of, yep, the liner notes, there you go. So you got them on the inside and some photos. So this was, of course, the era. By this time, Brian Johnson had formed a band, and I believe this was the album after Back in Black, which was their comeback album with Brian, which just broke all records. It was a huge smash hit. I also talked about that album, Back in Black, on my first retro reviews video, so if you're interested to hear more of my opinions on that, go back and check that video out. And it's interesting. So same logos again on the plain black vinyl. Yep, part of these remasters. So I think the High Voltage one was part of the remasters as well. Okay, so first of all, like I mentioned, this album is criminally underrated. I hear a lot of fans say they don't like this album, and my mum, who's a huge AC/DC fan as well, she told me on the AC/DC website a lot of diehard fans thought this was a rush job or something, and I'm not one to listen to critics or other people's opinions. Like when it comes to music, if the music sounds good to me, I ignore other people's opinions. I think this album is fucking brilliant and it's amazing. Like, just very heavy, very catchy. The choruses you sing along to so easily. There is nothing to dislike about this album. Like, very underrated, and I think even heavier than Back in Black with the production. So like they've got those shouty sing-along backing vocal choruses. The bluesy parts, like they've got some tempo changes, but it's, you know, that usual kind of mid-pace, hard, catchy hard rock to heavy metal kind of sound. So all of side A, literally every single song is brilliant. Like Fly on the Wall, great opener. Call to Battle, brilliant. Shake Your Foundations has got such an amazing sing-along chorus. First Blood, I just really like the riffing in that song, and again, you hear the interplay with the guitars and then the bass and drums, and it's got that classic line, which I think is like, some like it hot, some like it not quite so hot, but it's just, that always sticks in my head, but great song. Then you've got a slower track, Danger, which they really slow it down, but again, such a catchy chorus, like danger, danger, don't talk to strangers. But I know it doesn't sound that inspiring when I say it, but when you're singing along, trust me, it does. Last track on side A, Sink the Pink, which was the single from this album. So catchy. The riff, the vocals, the chorus, you just can't go wrong with that. And in fact, I was listening to this album last Saturday in the evening. On Sunday night when I couldn't sleep, I had those two songs, First Blood and Sink the Pink, just playing on my head. I couldn't get the riffs and the choruses out of my head, which is annoying at the time, but I think it speaks volumes about how catchy it is. Then side 2, yep, you can't go wrong with side 2 either. Like, every song is good. Just a couple of my favorite tracks from that. Stand Up, and also Hell or High Water. Hell or High Water, the vocals mimic the riff, like Hell or High Water, but like just catchy as all fuck. Like, you can't help but not sing along. Sorry, can't help but sing along. Gotta be careful with the double negatives there. But yeah, really, literally every song is good. I think this is criminally underrated, and if you haven't checked it out, you should. So that's AC/DC with Fly on the Wall, an unsung hero. All right, so about AC/DC, as I've mentioned before, the older I get, the more I like them. I think they're a fantastic band, and I really like to get some more of their albums on vinyl, especially the 70s and 80s ones, because that's when the production was quite raw and heavy and sort of like that classic era. But there you have it. They're my first 5 hard rock, heavy metal LPs. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and it was nice to include this CD playing now as part of it, because it sort of fits in stylistically as you know, hard rock, heavy metal. So a nice cohesive inclusion there, I think. So that's all I'm going to go on for today, guys, but thanks for watching this. If you have any questions or any suggestions about things you'd like to see, just let me know. If you're new, I hope you enjoyed the video, as I hope everyone did, and I hope you comment, like, and subscribe. Thanks a lot to people who already have, and thanks for your support. Really appreciate it. I'll be back soon with another collection. I think the next one's going to be a collection update. So there's tons of stuff to talk about. It's not going to end for a while, so I hope you keep watching. So I'll see you in the next video, and take care. Thanks.